Hey guys, this is MacHeads 101 with our 20th iPhone programming tutorial. In this video I'm going to show you how to use the segment control for some pretty basic stuff, and I'm also going to be finishing up our first game that I was working on in the previous tutorials. So what I promised you guys I'd show you how to do in this tutorial with the game is I promised I'd show you how to make it so when they press on a ball, when they tap a ball, it actually gets lighter instead of darker. And what I actually said was I'm going to make it so it changes images, and that's really what we're going to be doing. So let's have a look. We have the image that we were using for our ball right now. It's just ball.png, pretty bland. But when you tap on it right now, it just uses Apple's API to make it darker. So I have another image called ballpress.png, which is slightly brighter and it looks more pressed, I guess. So this is the image we're going to be using when they press on the button. So first thing you want to do when you want to use an image in your app is you need to drag the image over to the resources. So I do that. Now I'll check copy items, and that has to be checked, and click add. So now that that's checked, we can go in and write our code. So in our create new button method, where the button gets created, we're going to copy this line of code that sets the background image, and we're going to paste it under itself. Now you're probably wondering why I'm doing this, and you'll see in a second. So first we're going to change the name of the image to ball_press, and right now, if we were to run it, it would just make the default, the regular image, the pressed image, and it would just do the same thing when you press it. And so the way to make it so that this is the background image when it's pressed is to change the control state. So we're going to change it from UI control state normal to UI control state highlighted. Now, what highlighted normally means with text, maybe you have text highlighted, you have it selected. But in this case, highlighted really means that the user is tapping down on it, so it should be lit up. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're giving it our lit up image. So now let me set this to run on the iPhone simulator. Let's go ahead and run it. Let's wait for the simulator to load. Here are our buttons bouncing around, and when I tap it, it gets lighter. Not sure if you can really tell that from the quality of the video, but hopefully you can. Okay, so that's all we're going to be doing with this for now. So what I promised you guys in the last tutorial is that I'm going to show you how to use some basic UI components with the iPhone, such as like the switch I showed you guys how to use, the table view, stuff like that. And today I'm going to be showing you how to use the segmented control. So the way this will work is we're going to create a new Xcode project first of all, and let's call it segment testing. And this is the project we're going to be using to work with the segmented control. So let's go over to the resources, and we're going to be using interface builder for now. So let's open up test view controller or segment testing.view or viewcontroller.xib. So it comes up whenever we have our library. And so from our library, we're going to drag on a segmented control. I'll make it look like that, and then in our attributes we'll add a segment, first, second, and then I'll call this third. Okay, so we have three things. What we're also going to do is have a label that tells us the current thing. So current segment first. And this will change whenever we change this. So if you look at this, there are a couple things we're going to need. First of all, we're going to need something that runs whenever they change the value of this segment. That way we can know for sure whenever they change the segment, so that way we can update this label. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to want an outlet for this label, so that way we can change its text. And we're going to want an outlet for this segment, so that way we can get its value. We can get which one of these is selected. Now, if you're not really familiar with how segments work, there are items, or they're basically called segments. So the first one is the title is first, the second one's title is second, the third one's title is third, etc. Now, these are numbered from starting at 0, going from left to right. So first is actually 0, second is 1, and third is 2 in this case. So you don't really have to understand that just yet. So we're going to set up in our code, we're going to set up a couple of outlets and actions for this. So we're going to have an IB outlet for UISegmentedControl segment, and we're going to have an IB outlet for a UI label, and I'll call it label. And we're going to have an IB action for when they change the segment, I'll call it segment change. And I'll just copy over this action to our .m file and type in the implementation. So here's the code. I'll just put a comment called when segment changes. Now, it's not actually going to be called when segment changes unless we hook it up in Interface Builder. So let's go back in here and hook up from Files Owner. We're going to hold Control while clicking to the segment, and we're going to click on Segment. And then do the same thing, hold Control, then click and then drag to current segment. We're going to be Label. And then from here, from the segment, we're going to Control click to Files Owner and say Segment Change. So that way it knows to call Segment Change. Now you might notice that the segmented control actually it behaves just like a button in that it sends an action out to anything that wants to know about it whenever someone changes the value. So that's very nice. We'll automatically get this action whenever someone changes this value. So the first thing we're going to do is print out, we're going to use NSLog to print out the currently selected segment. Now this will be 0 if first is selected, 1 if second is selected, 2 if third is selected, etc. So let's go ahead and add an NSLog. This is just for debugging. So let's say NSLog, and then we're going to say current segment, and then here's how we actually get the segment is left bracket, segment, space, and then selected segment index, right bracket. And this right here means the selected index, basically. So if the first one is selected at 0, etc., etc. And then this just corresponds to this. So it knows that this is the placeholder for the value of this. So let's go ahead and run this in the iPhone simulator. And let's check it out. Here it is. So when we change it, let's just throw up our console. You can also do that by pressing Shift Command R. So we change this, and it changes the current segment. Let me just move this. It changes the current segment. So this is 0, 1, 2, just as I told you it was. So you should always believe me. So now we're going to actually make this set the title of our label. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we have the index, and from this we could do something like this. We could do, if this is 0, we say label set text current segment first. We could do this for all of them, and we could go through all of these, 1, 2, and 3, but that would be awful. No one wants to do that. It's just a waste of time when there's a much easier way to do it. So we can say NSString current title equals segment title for segment at index, and then here's where we pass in segment current or selected segment index. If this kind of confuses you, what segment title for segment and index, whatever is right here is just the segment index. So we could give it 0 and it would always be first. If we give it 1, it would always be second, or whatever, whatever we typed here, here, and here. So in this case, we're giving it this segment selected segment index, so that way we get the current title, basically, the title that they have selected. Now, let's log this just real quick. Let's log current title. Whoops. And let's see what it comes out as. Whoops. Let's open up our console. So second, third, second, first, second, third, it's right, it's correct. So now the final step is to actually set our labels. So we're going to say labels set text NSString string with format, and then here we're going to say current segment, and then we'll give it current title. What you really have to know about this is that this is the placeholder. This %@ sign is the placeholder for this. Okay, so basically we're just giving it current title right there. So this just reads the value. Let me take you step by step. This reads the title of the current segment, it logs it, and then it sets the text of the label. What will it set the text of the label to? It'll set it to this value right here. Now, if you already understand this, that's good, but I'm just going to re-explain it. String with format, you give it a format string. A format string it's a normal string, but whenever it sees a % sign, it knows, oh, there's something magical. When we give it an @ sign after the % sign, as I did here, so this says %@, it means, oh, it's going to be a piece of text. It's going to be an NS string, which it is. So right here is my NS string that I give it after this comma. And so this is basically the placeholder for this, whatever's there. So, all right, so that should work. Let's check it out. Let's see if it works. and voila, it works fabulously. So that is basic segmented controls. Now, as I like to do now, at the end of every video, I give a challenge. So my challenge for you guys today is try to make what we've made right here, except make it all with code. I want you to try to look it up, maybe Google stuff. I'll have a link in the description for some documentation on how the segmented control works. But I want you guys to try to make the same exact thing that we make in this video without using Interface Builder. So it's quite a challenge. I'm not sure. I'll definitely show you how to do it in the next video, so don't struggle out over it if you can't figure it out. But that's certainly a challenge. So thanks for watching MacCats 101. Subscribe, and goodbye.